Mike, could you two figure out your social awkwardness and the rest of us can continue on?
Now he's coming. Get back.
Are we all set? Good. So, thank you all for coming. My name is Tisha Bremner. I know many of you. I'm the wellness coach here at Geiger, and I've been working as a wellness coach for just about 14 months. And this program is really kind of the brainchild of what I've learned from working here with individuals and working here with groups at Geiger on health and wellness goals. And essentially, I think that what I'm trying to do is create a program or create a platform that makes personal growth and development in the health and wellness spectrum accessible, easy, and even a little bit motivating. And so, with that said, I'm going to jump right in. My philosophy around coaching is that if we empower ourselves, that we can evolve our potential. And that evolving our potential just in one area will trickle into lots of other areas. So if you change, let's say, a habit of eating, many of you know that it will also impact other parts of you. So I'm just going to dive right in. Let me know if you have any questions as we go along. All right? Sounds good. So I want to start first with this concept of what health is. 2 years ago, I went to my physician and I said, you know, am I as healthy as I could be? And he pulled up some statistics around cancer and cardiovascular disease and my age, and he said, you're really doing great. There's nothing wrong with you. But my question really was, am I doing enough things right so that more things are happening in a positive way, that I'm achieving a higher level of function than just not having a disease? So lots of times I think the standard definition around health is it broken? And maybe we don't have things that are broken, but maybe our habits or our practices are leading us in that direction. Or maybe they're having a neutral effect, or maybe they're having a positive effect. So I want to encourage you all to think about your health in a way that looks at, is it working really well? You know, it's kind of like the oil change in the car. When we first get an oil change, it's working really well. When we're at 9,999 miles, there's still oil in the car, but is that optimal? No, right? So habits are things that we do every day without thinking about them. I joke, for those of you who are in my yoga class, I joke a lot of times and say, there are 5 things that I do every morning consistently, and it doesn't matter where I am, and it doesn't matter what's going on. I do those 5 things every day. Lots of us do several things all day long. In fact, neuroscience scientists and cognitive behaviorists say that essentially anywhere between, the statistic is 40 to 95% of the things that we're doing are habits. And our habits either are positive, neutral, or negative, right? And as I'm saying this, you're probably thinking of like, uh-oh, that one thing that you do, you know, or those 2 things that you do that are really positive. And the reason why looking at habits is really important is because most of the time they fall under the radar of our awareness, right? And then it's the little things that over time that become who we are. We're going to talk about that in a second. So I want to propose this concept that our health and wellness is made up of all those little teeny tiny habits that we do day in and day out. And the things that we're aware of, right, are things that we can have more control over, potentially. Actually, quite a bit. The things that we're not aware of, again, can be yielding positive results, neutral results, or negative results. And so our habits really make up our wellness habits, I should say, really make up whether or not we're on the optimal end, whether or not we're highly functioning, or whether or not we're beginning to take steps toward a disease process. And so this is looking at health and wellness from an integrative standpoint. It looks at the full spectrum of your awareness, your education, your growth, your goals, the things that you're doing positively. And again, here's that neutral set point. You're still absent of disease, but where are you in the oil change? Mileage, right? And then of course, things that we do that yield premature death, disability, disease, discomfort, and I want to even say a little bit of unhappiness. Fair? Anyone disagree? Yeah? Okay. I like to get buy-in. So, optimal health is when all of the parts of who we are work together. Let me ask you a question. What are the parts of you? What are the parts of a human being? Mind. Beautiful. What else?
Body.
Body. What else are we made of?
Spirit,
Soul. Spirit. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. One other thing.
Heart.
Heart. Yeah. All parts lining up, working flawlessly. And so here, we can change our habits as we age, no matter where we are, to make those little improvements. And this is something that my grandparents really demonstrated to me in life. You know, they were very physically active the whole time growing up, but until they got into their late 80s, they actually started to slow down. And that's when actually they started growing their minds quite a lot more. So, what is resilience? I say this because, right, we're building 5 habits of healthy, resilient people. How many of us go to the birthday party? Have you been to the birthday party? What am I talking about? How many of us have stayed up too late? Have any of you stayed up too late? Okay, what happens? What happens if you're not resilient?
no feel good the next day.
Struggling.
You struggle the next day, you don't feel good, you can't bounce back. People look at you and they say, what's going on? Are you okay? Well, I just stayed up too late last night. Right? If you have a high level of resiliency and you stay up too late last night, people aren't going to see that. Right? If you go to the birthday party, what's served at the birthday party? What else?
Ice cream.
What else?
Beverages.
What kind of beverages?
Alcohol
Sure.
beverages.
Or what's the other kind of beverages?
Soda.
And then what do you serve for lunch? In my family, we're always feeding people. We give them more than cake. But what do we feed to people at the birthday party?
Pizza.
Pizza, right? And so if you have a high level of resiliency, you can go to the birthday party, you can eat all of that, and then you bounce back Sunday or Monday morning, right, on your plan. And so having resiliency is our ability to withstand the stresses of life, the difficulties of life, and the capacity to bounce back so that it doesn't get us down, right? How many of us could use a little bit more resiliency? How many of us stayed up too late last night? All right. Good. So, 5 unhealthy habits. This is basically across the board, and this is not meant to be a guilt trip, but it's just meant to bring a little bit more of awareness into what it is that we're doing, right? Because the things that we're aware of are the things that we can change. Yeah? Good. Okay, cool. So the top 5 unhealthy habits: McDonald's, unhealthy eating, lack of exercise, tobacco use, too much alcohol, poor stress management techniques, right? How many of this do we do? We all have probably some of this, and that's part of being a human being as well. And so this is why when we get into the 5 habits in just a minute, the 5 habits aren't prescriptive of do these 5 exact things that are well-defined every day. They allow us to be ourselves. So they're broad ranged, so that anyone can utilize this program and make changes and grow in a way that's unique to them. What I love to say is we're not trying to build, a company of wellness coaches, of Tisha Bremners. That would be very boring and potentially exhausting. So, have you heard of modern American diet or standard American diet? What is it? John, it's like our grocery stores have 80% of this stuff. And where is it found? In the middle aisles. Right. Yeah, totally. So the things that we're eating are, 51% of our diet is made up of refined and processed foods. What are these things filled with?
Sugar,
Mm-hmm.
dyes.
Carbs.
Mm-hmm.
Chemicals.
Sodium. What else?
Taste.
Oh, no way! I totally disagree. The best Dorito is only the first Dorito, and you can never replicate it. You cannot replicate it. Doesn't matter if I've tried. It doesn't work, right? So, saturated fat, sugar, salt, artificial things. Is this stuff good for us? How do we feel when we eat it? Down. Like crap. Feel like crap, right? And then another about half is dairy and meat, and 7% are fruits and vegetables. This is yielding our Western diseases. In countries that eat in the opposite way, they're not suffering from these diseases at the rate that we are in the Western world. Here's the great thing. Going to McDonald's is a habit, right? You know, what is it? Hot dogs and beans on Saturday night. Habit. Pasta Wednesday. Habit. Do you eat from the cafe? Sorry. Do you eat from the cafe here, or do you bring your own lunch? Habit. Right? So, again, contributing to disease. I'm going to move on with this. Sedentary lifestyle. There's an article a couple of years ago. Sitting is the new smoking. August 13th, the New York Post ran an article that said 42% of our waking hours are spent where? But what else? Screen time. So that translates, depending on whether or not you're a minority, to 7 to 11 hours a day of screen time. I've been in the Wellness Center a whole bunch of times. I don't know many people who are taking their laptops or their tablets or their phones on the treadmill. So we're not doing those, two things simultaneously. I realize that our jobs, my job as well, is very much attached to sitting and to a computer, but do we have to do it so much? I think the statistic is most of us are watching 4 to 5 hours of TV at night, consistently every night. I went on a 12-day vacation. Guess how many times I turned the TV on?
None.
0. None. A friend stayed with us a few months ago. We woke up and it was like Fox News. It was a double shock to the system. I'll say that. But we know that sitting adds to weight gain. It decreases our strength, our endurance. Our immune system goes down. Inflammation, which is the precursor to all diseases, increases. We lose circulation. Our hormones get imbalanced and our moods are disturbed. So sitting is the new smoking. And then poor stress management techniques. We're going to talk about how these things are habits, right? What do we call smoking? I learned a habit growing up. When my dad had a stressful day, guess what he came home and he did? First thing.
Open a beer.
Open a beer. He's like, why not? Miller Lite.
Yeah.
Have a couple of those, the world feels better.
Yep.
Just for a little bit of time. And then the way that we manage multiple demands sometimes, many times, can be very contracted, very constricted. And so you might see people recoil into themselves. You might also see people get very aggressive. Neither one of those energies is expansive and positive. And all of these stress management techniques have unintended consequences, right? Consequences that are really negative. But there's hope. I want to ask you guys, how would you, as you read these 5 habits of healthy, resilient people, what does this mean to you? What are we saying? I'm just really curious. You're part of the test group with this. What grow for life? What does that mean? Change. And so who can do that?
Yourself.
Yes, you. But who else? Is it just you and me?
Everybody.
Everyone can change. Right? That's what my grandparents taught me. And you guys get this spiel in yoga all of the time. And I usually have you in a position where I'm like, okay, right here, right now, this is the moment where you decide, here's your growth edge. Are you living in a way that takes you right up to your growth edge? To that place that it's comfortable enough to take one step forward, but it's a little uncomfortable because it's uncharted territory. The human brain are, I think at the very core of who we are, we desire growth. When we're growing, we feel good, feel better about ourselves, right? The second one, what does this mean?
Resiliency.
Don't give up. Try, do. Don't give up. How many times have you or a friend tried something that was at that growth edge and it just didn't work? But it worked for your friend. What does that do to your mindset?
Well, it encourages me to keep trying.
Good. But not everyone has that. Not everyone knows that we have to try lots of things and that we change throughout our whole life. So guess what worked at 25, right? How many of us could do certain things at 25 that we can't at 45 or 35 or, right? Things change. Okay, you guys know I'm not a sports fan at all, but I just heard, well, kind of, not really. Michael Jordan. Do we know who he is? You probably know a lot more about him. What is his fame, claim to fame? Basketball. And then, oh, he did baseball? Oh, yeah, because he's the Nike guy. All right. This is how much I know. Here's a quote from Michael Jordan. I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. When I heard that, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of misses. I've lost almost 300 games. Here's a good one. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. How do you come back from that, I failed over and over and over again in my life, and that's why I succeed. What does that tell you?
He kept trying.
Kept trying. Kept trying.
It
But you
should
never
show what he
succeed if
did.
you don't try.
Right. And sometimes our failures become the best pearls of wisdom. What does eat your medicine mean?
Eat healthy.
Yeah, just move it. There. Yeah. Fill her up and go.
Drink water.
Okay.
Nothing to
What are we
feel.
filling up?
Feel
What are
your
we
gas
filling
tank.
up? Come on, you guys who know me, what are we filling up?
Your soul.
Our minds.
Perfect. Our minds, our soul, yes. Awesome. All right, so Grow for Life is about cultivating a growth mindset, dedicating yourself to develop yourself in a way that is self-honoring over time, and knowing that it is your human capacity and potential to do so. And maybe you got some messages out in the world that said it isn't true. Guess what? Lots of people have told me things they're wrong. So we all have this potential. And it is a mindset. Try, do is to experiment, to discover, to adjust, to know that we're not ever going to get it 100% of the time. And why are we beating ourselves up, For me, what I found out a couple years ago, which I never thought, 4 years ago I was introduced to the concept of intermittent fasting, and I thought that people were totally crazy. And I had this belly that I wanted to get rid of, and then guess what? 2 years later, I stumbled upon it again. And then I tried it. And then I realized, oh wait, it took a little adjustment, but I can do it, and it feels great in my body. So trying and doing things, maybe it's the wrong time for you. Maybe there's something else. This is another mindset too, where, Michael Jordan was incredibly successful. 9,000 misses. I don't think I've shot a basketball 900 times or 90 times, 9,000 misses. So don't give up because you're worth it. You are worth having a wonderful life. Eat your medicine. There are some very strong statistics that say the more fruits and vegetables that we eat, the longer we're going to live. And then the quality of our life is also going to be that much better, right? I know that when I have I'm not a vegetarian. I don't have any specific, most things are on the plate for me, including the chocolate cake. It totally is. But my primary habit around nutrition is to eat 8 to 10 fruits and veggies every day. And I have a system with which I'm mostly successful doing that, and I feel great. This is at the basis You know, eating real food, eating whole food, eating local food, eating foods that are naturally produced really are at the basis of health and wellness, right? The Cheez-Its are okay to trickle in once in a while, but they shouldn't be our primary diet. And we know this. This is not anything new. The next piece is just move it. There are lots of ways that we can move it. Guess what? We don't have to do yoga. Yay! If you like yoga, go for it. But, you know, you never have to explain to me why you are coming or going from yoga. Because I know there's a lot more movement out there than just yoga, right? So, there are lifestyle activities, right? Park away from the building, take the stairs. What are some other lifestyle things? Go for a walk at lunch, right? You know, it doesn't have to be strongly regimented. Get outside, kayak, hike, traipse through the woods, a field, you know? Or join an exercise. Yeah, chase a kid. Join an exercise program. There are recommendations. The American College of Sports Medicine and the Centers for Disease Control say 150 minutes of moderately intense exercise a week to mitigate disease. So everything that we do in my program is based on standards that are nationally recognized. And then fill her up and go means to fill up, Max, you said soul, right? To fill up the places from within. Because we're more than just what we eat and how we move, right? Do you know people who eat really well and they move really well and they're like so slim and tight and everything is not joyful? So fill her up and go is to fill up the other pieces and you know, the other pieces of your heart, of your mind, of your creativity, of your joy. And the reason why we fill up and not empty out is because wherever we put our mindset, that's where we're headed, neurologically based. We say, I'm not eating chocolate cake, guess what you're going to do on Wednesday? You're going to buy the cake. You eat half the cake. And then you're going to do whatever you do, but you're not going to be fulfilled. So instead, maybe you say, I'm going to have the watermelon. It's sweet, it's cooling, it's nutrient dense, it's hydrating. So these are ways to fill yourself up so that you can go forward and unleash your potential. Getting back to the habits, right? When we let our feelings and our values be the guide, we can begin to discern the cue, stress, anxiety, life. You know, life can sometimes, right? Do we all have that experience of life? And we all have learned routines, right? How many of you learned that I'm sad, have the chocolate cake routine? That is a real thing. It is a real thing. You know, I learned that I'm having a bad day, here's a Miller Lite. That's a very important thing to recognize, and I want to say that I'm not exclusive, and the chocolate cakers are not exclusive in learning those things. We all learn coping mechanisms because we're looking for some outcome. The habit program is really meant to say, what am I doing? Where does it put me on the illness-wellness continuum? And what am I ready now to evolve, to try, to experiment with, so that I get a really happier outcome? You know, someone was saying just a little while ago, oh, don't put strawberries in your morning smoothie, there's too much sugar. And I thought, this person's eating a ring ding for breakfast. Eat 5 pounds of strawberries. Right? Right? But then, as people evolve their dietary plans, you might realize, right, I just recently had a conversation where the recognition was, with this one particular individual, is root vegetables have more starch and sugar, so I'm going to evolve that in my diet, right? If you're eating a ring ding, you're not evolving, looking at starchy, sugary, you're just not. And that's okay. Start where you are. Is that fair? So that you can align with your growth vision in a way that evolves you to a place of happiness, of health, of wellness, of empowerment, so that you can unleash what is really good about you. And for those of you who know me, it is my passion to see the good in everyone. And in any of our conversations, sometimes I'll, talk to people and they'll come in and say, whoa, this thing just went to shit. Sorry, but that'll happen in the office. And I'll say, wow, what did you learn? Well, I learned that this doesn't work. Great. Silver lining. There's your potential. Small adjustments become really big results. And the coaching program here is designed to help you be you in a way that is self-honoring. Is that fair? So these are some standards that you never have to particularly meet, but these are some of the set points, if you will, or the standards around optimal health and wellness. And you can pick and choose any of these things in any amount that serves you, right? So there's lots of data about eating 7 fresh fruits and veggies a day, drinking 8 cups of water, cooking your own food, bringing your own lunch, hanging out with good people, right? Keep good company. It's always something that I learned in yoga. If you speak positively about yourself and about others, good things start to happen. Am I handing out too much Kool-Aid right now? Anyone want a second cup? Meditation for 30 minutes a day mitigates lots of disease and the effects of stress, and you end up with a calmer, kinder state of mind. Exercising 20 to 30 minutes a day. Laugh and have fun. Dance, sing in the shower, buy new clothes, do funny things. Get your annual checkups, maintain a healthy weight. Write your goals down and work at them. One of the things that Dan Nevins really inspired me on is that he said that your goals are just dreams without a little bit of effort. This is just a little bit of effort. So, 5 habits. Grow for life, try, do, eat your medicine, just move it, fill her up and go. Does this seem doable? Does this seem like a platform that might be inspiring and digestible and motivating for people like Geiger? Am I drinking too much of the Kool-Aid? I could be. I could be. Was this valuable for you? How valuable? We're friends. He'll forgive me. Right? Maybe. All right.
It motivates me to try to make little changes.
Little changes.
How do you start with little changes?
Yeah. Because where we are and where our vision is at, I've been working on this for years. Years. So if you try to jump there, it's very discouraging, right? For those of you who are in the coaching program, feel free to interject. If you'd like, no pressure at all. Write those little small steps.
Yeah, making that one small change, that one small movement. I committed to having, while I was having knee surgery, having just a couple smoothies every day. And then it was lots of fruits and stuff. And so I've evolved that to almond milk and protein powders and things that a month ago I was like, heck no, that's not going to happen. But now if I have a chance in the morning to have that, then I feel like my whole morning is off. So that has evolved into my daily routine. But then the other part, I think too, and you and I talked about it this week, was understand where you are in the journey and be honest with yourself about where you're starting. Don't lie to yourself. You just are where you are. And there's no point in sugarcoating. You're just there. Because if you don't know really where you are, then you really have no idea how to get where you want to go. So, and that's really been what I've been. I was actually talking to Alan Grell about it this morning. Anyways, he's kind of on the same mindset too. So.
Yeah. And it's true. It's it's like are you going to go to Boston and are you starting in Freeport or are you starting in Lewiston? I mean, if you're trying to find a street, maybe, I had a conversation, I can't remember, was it you?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, if you're trying to go to Boston and you're in Freeport and you're looking for a street in Lewiston, you're just like never gonna get there. And it's okay, like part of my philosophy too is I'm totally non-judgmental, I'm completely a human being. I screw things up on a regular basis, I'm working on stuff myself, right? I mean, Jen and I work together and I'm always doing these edits that I send her like 4 edits back. Oh, I missed this, I missed that, but you know, we keep at it and we're friends. And she does a great job. And it makes me look good, so thank you. All right, so anyways, enough about me. What would you change? I'm totally putting you on the spot.
The last slide had a lot of Kool-Aid on it.
So, and the reason why I had a lot of Kool-Aid is that so we can pick and choose what works for us. I have a very strong background in yoga, and one of my teachers said, you know, I was listing all of the things that we're supposed to do to lead an optimal life, you know, based on her teacher's prescription, if you will, and they added it up and it was 36 hours in a day. So, I want to give you more, so that there are more possibilities, so that you can find your way, you know, but maybe not overwhelming. I mean, that was Brett trying to touch a wide spectrum of things. If we rolled this out at Geiger in Jean's newsletter with the health and wellness team, if we gave you guys reminders and put it in the context of this, is this appropriate enough of a program, of a concept that it would help you to stay engaged and motivated and reminded? Who like strongly agrees with that? All right. If we did jumping jacks outside of Jean's office as well, and Tuesdays and Thursdays, would that help you stay motivated? Good, fantastic. What questions do you have? Okay, so I work with people individually. We're hopefully going to roll this out in a broader version of Lunch and Learns. I'm the one that always needs to beg for forgiveness, but I'm just going to put that out there. That's on the table. That will happen hopefully this year, for the remainder of this year, maybe one a month or something like that. I also do a 9-week integrative wellness program as well as one-on-one coaching. And Kim is the expert about the parameters of who is an eligible participant and who is not. So, but most, Kim will talk. Kim can talk to you about that. But I know we're 4 minutes over. It's actually pretty good for me. Yes.
I got a question for
Yeah.
everybody. It sort of relates to this, but it's something you and I talked about a couple days ago. And that is the issue of stress in the workplace here. And we were talking.
Yeah.
Tish has got an idea about. You have a lot of ideas, but about well. Question for all of you is to what extent or how significant is stress here in the workplace? Well, no, more broadly. How much stress is there amongst you and your colleagues, perhaps from workplace-related things or maybe beyond workplace, maybe, just personal stuff, workplace stuff, stress. How big a deal is stress, and therefore, how big a deal is it for us to try to provide support, aid, tools, help you deal with stress?
I think it would be very useful because, looking at all of the habits, if you're, and as people have said, it's where you are in the journey, where if you're doing pretty well with like the more physical health-related things in terms of exercise and eating and such, like that's the next piece. And I do feel like there's a lot of initiatives here for like physical wellness and healthy eating, but that's another piece of the puzzle. So yes, I feel like it would be valuable.
But I'm just, in broad sense, is stress a big deal or not a big deal amongst everyone?
Big deal.
It's a big deal? Okay, we just talked about how do we deal with it here, and to what extent do you give people tools, to what extent do you train management to recognize it? Certainly stress is not just work related, it's your home stuff, it's whatever things are going, your kids, your wife, your husband, whatever. But I was just wondering how big a deal it was. What you're all saying is it is a significant issue in this whole bunch of stuff that we're trying to address. Okay, that's helpful to hear.
Yes.
So just to piggyback on that, so we do stretching 3 times a day. And actually after the Dan Evans thing, I thought it would be beneficial if one of those stretches no longer was stretching, but was more meditation.
Like a minute of meditation.
That's interesting.
The other thing that we could also incorporate, I think that's an excellent idea, is to learn how to do both. Which might be a little yoga, but it's about breathing, right? So there are three gateways that really help us to mitigate stress in our bodies, and they're like 3 things that we have with us all the time. The first is our body, we like stretch and move, and that mitigates a lot of stress. The second is our breath. Many of us breathe in a very shallow way, and we're just not even aware of it. But if you bring your breath into your belly, you get your diaphragm, which is the primary muscle of breathing, to move, and that stimulates your vagus nerve, which has a direct access to your gut, where serotonin is produced, and to your brain, that picks up that serotonin and makes you feel better. And then the third piece is mindfulness. And I'm trained in meditation, I'm trained in mindfulness, I'm a certified mindfulness-based stress reduction teacher. So these are some of the concepts that we're mulling around in terms of potentially bringing here. So, and mindfulness, I'm so passionate about it because it can happen it's called a magic quarter second. It's like when you pull yourself out of that stress reaction and turn your awareness to pulling back, it mitigates the sense of stress,
It's interesting, the issue of meditation sounds like, 3 monks and a nun in a monastery somewhere. And so I would guess that most people don't know what meditation might be for them or how you could do it. So it's one of those voodoo doll kind of things.
It can be one of those voodoo doll things. I personally know that meditation is completely misunderstood in our society.
Well,
And there are many techniques to meditation.
This is my point,
that
is
all
when you
have
talk
the
about
same-
it, you talk about it, meditation, what the hell is that? Interestingly enough, I had a fellow in here yesterday from Handstand, the supplier of ours, who was in Salt Lake, and he was very visible in the industry for years. He went away, he was gone, and he was telling me that he got so stressed out that he ended up going into some sort of another career, but he also got involved in transcendental meditation. And that's why he wanted to talk to you about what it is that you do, and so he was talking about his meditating every day, and that's part of one of his habits of good health.
And can I just, transcendental meditation is a super scary term.
I did it.
I know you did. I know you're talking about this. But so what I'd love to do is to take those things and bring them right here. And transcendental meditation is basically finding an object of focus that allows you to repattern your mind and have a mind shift. And you can go to a guru. I can direct you to someone who will take $4,500 of your money and bring you through an 18-month program and give you a little mantra that will sound like ing or ning or ding and invite you to practice.
You'll do it for
Or
8 easy payments of $19.99.
yes, Alicia, I'm sorry.
for stress management.
Yeah.
I personally feel the worst when I'm stressed than any of those other things. So if I eat poorly or I don't exercise, I don't feel super bad, but when I get stressed, to me, there's no worse one than on your
Yeah.
list.
Absolutely. Because I think stress goes right to the heart of your well-being, right? It affects your heart rate, your blood pressure, your glucose, your clarity of mind, your breathing, your kind of overall sense of energy, let's say. And I have seen many times over how stress really is the primary barrier that gets in the way of making those better decisions. And this is what I see that ends up happening is that we all have patterning, right? We all have these like little habits, these little tendencies, and we've learned them from our friends and our parents, and we've also picked up a few things along the way, right? And so when we're stressed, we're not thinking as clearly, and that decreases our desire to exercise and increases our desire to go to McDonald's, or whatever our pattern is, you know? And we fall into that really easily. It's because there's only so much that we can take, you know? And this is why some of the patterning, the habits, are so important. I don't think Alan would mind me sharing this with you, because he's shared a lot of his experience running the ultra marathon. And we were having an open conversation with a few people in the cafe, and he said, you know, after the ultra marathon, I was craving sugar and starches because his body he'd lost weight, his body was trying to rebuild, and he said, now I know I'm back on track because I'm craving salads. It's been a few days, right? Do you think he won't mind? He shared that quite a little. But that's the patterning that we're going for, you know, so that when you deplete yourself, and he probably did need some fats and carbs, and, you know, I wouldn't argue that at all, but he's a wellness champion here. I've known him for several years. He has such strong patterns that after those few days of, you know, pepperoni pizza and whatever he ate, chocolate cake, PBR,
Yes.
right, yeah, why not? Hey, I love a good PBR, I'm all about it. His body's taking him back to this groove, this pattern. In yoga, it's called the samskara. We want to create as many positive samskaras, habits, as we can, because that's our compass. It's going to bring us back, not outside of ourselves, but within. And that's why I have the best job at Geiger. Because I get to talk about this stuff. I might be the lowest person on the totem pole. No authority, but best job. I'll take it. Any questions? I totally went over, but you're forgiven.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.